So, you want to be a digital artist in 2024. Honestly, should have picked a better time because,
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
No, I'm kidding, obviously. It is a wonderful time to dive into a brand new creative endeavor because life is short and you will regret it if you don't. However, if you are a traditional artist, making the switch to digital painting can be intimidating as hell. So in today's video, I want to walk you guys through a quick, no BS approach to what you actually need in order to be a digital artist in 2024. We'll talk about all the equipment that I use and love, all the basic knowledge about how digital painting works, especially if you're coming from a traditional painting background, as well as some motivational tips on how to stick with digital art when the art isn't arting the way it should. This video is mostly aimed at the beginner digital artist. However, there are some really good tips in here for you if you are more at an intermediate level, so make sure you stick around. So if you're ready to dive into your digital painting journey, give this video a big thumbs up, comment below your dream digital art setup because I have like 20, and subscribe for more tips on how to be a happy artist like I am. But yeah, without much further ado, let's dive in. Let's start with the most basic aspect of digital painting, which is the equipment. Now, in order to paint on a computer, you will need, well, a computer. I have my little gal down here. And unless you're incredibly talented and can paint with a mouse, chances are you will need something like a drawing tablet of some sort. The one I use is a Huion Canvas 13. And it is essentially just a third monitor for my setup, which just happens to have pen sensitivity. Now, you don't need a screen tablet, especially when you're getting started out, because these can be a little expensive. When I first started painting digitally back in 2016, which is an age ago, I actually started with a Wacom Intuos draw, which is up in storage somewhere, so I don't have it on me right now, but I will leave a picture up here. These little guys, which are just pen tablets without the display, do a really good job and are way more affordable than these guys. In fact, it wasn't until I think 2022 that I got a screen tablet, which is like really late in my digital painting journey. So those guys are quite nifty and they do the job and they are so much more affordable. Also, if you are curious about the tablet that I currently use, I did do a full video reviewing it when I first got it. I will leave a link up here, so check that out after this if you're curious. You usually get a stylus with the drawing tablet that you buy, unless you're drawing on a tablet computer like an iPad or a Galaxy Tab, in which case you might have to invest in a stylus separately. I also recommend you get yourself one of these. This is a drawing glove. This one actually came with my tablet and it kind of goes over your ring and pinky finger. And it just keeps you from getting dirt and oil and dust all over your screen while you draw because your hand is constantly on the screen. You could just pick up a regular glove and cut off like these 3 fingers and use that instead, but highly recommend getting you one of these in whichever format you prefer. Here's some other stuff I recommend having, though they are not essential to digital painting, but they will just make your painting process a lot more enjoyable. First and foremost, get yourself a stand. Now, sometimes these come with the tablet, sometimes they don't. Mine did not come with a stand, but especially if you're drawing on a screen tablet or an iPad of some sort, you do not want to be sitting in a chair for hours on end and just completely wreck your spine trying to like hunch over your desk. So get yourself a stand. I also recommend getting yourself some decent storage space on your computer. Digital painting files can be pretty massive, and it's not always possible to paint from a file that's stored on cloud on every painting software. So yeah, definitely make sure your computer has a fair amount of storage. And the final piece of equipment I highly recommend getting is a pair of Bluetooth headphones, especially if you like to listen to stuff when you're painting. I find that with how many wires this guy has, I get my wired headphones snagged on it constantly, and also just because I move a lot when I paint, I tend to get a lot of my wires snagged, and I've broken many an aux cable because of this. So yeah, get you one of those Raycon sponsorships that you've been floating around YouTube. Do yourself a favor, trust me on this one. Let's talk about the other half of the digital painting experience, which is your painting software. There's new digital painting software coming out all the time, though you do have some industry standards like Photoshop, Clip Studio Paint, Paint Tool SAI, and of course Procreate. Personally though, I'm a huge fan of everything open source, so the one I love most of all is Krita 5. I did a complete walkthrough about Krita 5 and Krita 5.1 when they came out, and like the Krita brush engine is hands down the best I've ever tried. It's a free download and they're constantly adding features and such based on community feedback, so there is literally no downside to trying it out. Whichever painting software you use though, always consider if it has a few essential functionalities. First, of course, is layers. The ability to paint on separate layers, move them around, adjust and transform them, and also to use blend modes. This, to me, is one of the key advantages of painting digitally over painting traditionally. Most painting software has layer functionality, but it's always best to check beforehand. Next, always check for the ability to make, import, and use custom brushes. Now, custom brushes are not the be-all and end-all of digital painting, and your entire art skill should not rest on just using specialized brushes. However, I strongly believe that the ability to create and customize brushes can significantly speed up your painting process. Plus, it is great if there's loads of brush packs available online that you can just import and use super quick. If you're curious about how to make custom brushes in Krita, I did a video about it, which I'll link here in the cards. The next piece of software that I highly recommend having is PureRef. It is essentially just the most basic window where you can drag and drop images, and it can lay it out for you in a grid. You can export the collage as a single image, and my favorite part is that it has an always on top mode. And when you're painting digitally, all of these are important features for when you collect references. You can have the reference on the same screen as you're painting, you can zoom in and resize around the scene, and also this is a free program, so of course I highly recommend it. Finally, if you plan to share painting process videos or you just want to record them for yourself, you're gonna need a screen capture software. The one I use now is OBS Studio, which is open source and actually lets you stream to Twitch and such. OBS is free as well, and it actually records surprisingly small files without losing any visual quality. Highly recommend. Before we even get into actual online tutorials and courses I recommend, I always suggest starting by doing photo studies. Or if you're not quite there yet, learning the basics of shape, form, and color. Being able to do your basic spheres, cones, and cubes, learning to light and color them, and learning how the different digital functions and filters work will help you go a long way with digital painting. Once you're familiar with your software, tutorials are easy to follow and, more importantly, way easier to translate across painting softwares. A lot of the tutorials out there are based on Adobe Photoshop or Procreate, for instance, and knowing the equivalent of each function as it translates to your software of choice is half the battle. But when it comes to actual art tutorials, I do have some really good recommendations that have helped me along my digital art journey. First off, don't ever forget the name Control Paint. Matt Core, the guy who runs Control Paint, is an absolute genius, and his tutorials are bite-sized, super easy to follow, and there's a ton of them available for free on controlpaint.com. If you're looking for courses about good design, which are a little more advanced, I think, I highly recommend any of Hardy Fowler's courses. Here's some that I've taken in the past, and they have truly helped. I really like Hardy's style of teaching because it's very deeply rooted in practical application of principles. Of course, I have to mention MedsMap when it comes to rendering tutorials. Ahmed Al-Duri is a household name in the online art community, and he was actually kind enough to gift me his entire course. And boy oh boy, is it some of the best, absolute top-notch knowledge out there. I had an affiliate link to his course, which I don't think works anymore, but I will link the course page down below. Definitely give it a try. To be honest, there are thousands of courses on the internet, and it can be quite a challenge to figure out which one suits you best. I always suggest looking up course instructors on YouTube first, and if they have any free tutorials, check those out and see if you enjoy their style of teaching. We've all got different learning styles, and some instructors just help us learn things a lot better than others would. Alright, finally, let me give you some really important advice on digital art that I've learned from experience. First, understand that just like with any other skill, digital painting will come with a steep, sometimes frustrating learning curve. It doesn't matter how good you are with traditional art already, the learning curve is to do with the medium, not the art itself. Digital painting softwares can do all sorts of things for you, but when you first get started, this massive variety of functions can feel overwhelming. This is why I recommend starting with tutorials until you've pinpointed the exact subsection of functions that you actually use in your painting process. The other thing to note is that if you're coming from a background of drawing and painting on paper or canvas, where engaging the senses of touch and texture are a huge part, digital painting might initially feel a little less immersive. You're essentially drawing on a flat, smooth surface with a stylus that is always just one size or thickness, and all the variation that happens on screen. So it might feel a little less physically involved, and you might initially feel a little bit of restless energy because your body is used to being a big part of the art process. Give it time though, you will get used to and hopefully even start to enjoy your mind being completely engrossed in the process without having to stop to mix paint or physically change brushes. On the plus side, this does mean that you're saving a ton of money and space as well. The main reason that I even decided to go digital in the first place was because I was at university in a different country, and living out of a suitcase for 3 years straight is not exactly the ideal situation to then buy a bunch of art supplies as well. Plus, it got really expensive to constantly replenish art supplies, buy new sketchbooks and canvas. It just wasn't feasible anymore. Switching to digital art has not only made it way cheaper for me to make art, it has also allowed me more freedom to explore styles and techniques without the fear of, quote, using up art supplies that I could have used for something else. Oh, one slightly odd piece of advice, and this is mostly for those of you guys who want to paint for hours on end on like a long-term basis, is to get you creative hobbies outside of art. Let me tell you, the burnout can be real, and you will 100% need an outlet that isn't painting in order to decompress. Personally, I find what relaxes me most is stuff that I can do with my hands. So I do things like crochet. Bro, I crochet way too much. Or like baking and gardening. As a bonus though, crocheting so much is great endurance exercise for my hands, wrists, shoulders and back. And as those parts of my body get stronger, I'm able to paint for much longer without it becoming painful. So yeah, get yourself other hobbies and trust me, you'll be a better artist for it. Finally, I think my favorite part of painting digitally is that the medium is constantly evolving. Traditional art, for the most part, relies on your technique in order to evolve, and that's great. We love to see innovative approaches to traditional drawing and painting. But with digital art being software based, evolution is kind of hardwired into the medium itself. So, as you're getting better at doing what you do, so is the software getting better at what it does. And as someone who absolutely hates stagnation, this constant evolution really truly soothes my soul. Okay, that got a bit dramatic, but the point is, you should absolutely make it your new life goal to become a digital artist, and hopefully this video has given you enough of a nudge to try it out for yourself. So, which of these aspects of digital art are you most excited about? What made you want to make the switch to digital painting? Comment below and tell me. If you enjoyed this video and learned something today, please do remember to like and subscribe. Come say hello on my Discord server because we would love to have you there and we would love to watch and encourage you on your digital painting journey. Also, the server is of course open to traditional artists as well, so just come on there and say hello. Or you could just come say hello on Instagram, links are all down below, and grab some real-time rendering tutorials as well as all of my art, all of the speed paints, and my custom brush kit for Krita or Photoshop if that's the way you want to go. It's all up on my Patreon, I'll leave a link up here, and thank you so much for checking it out. But that's about all I have to say today, so thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. If you want a bunch of rapid fire painting tips for digital art, check out this video down here where I shared 26 tips on how to do better at digital painting a while ago. I'll leave it here in the outro, check it out, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye!